ETs are here. They really are here on the planet. Now, what we aren't experiencing quite yet is open contact. So this video will be exploring the reality that extraterrestrials are here, they are present, and the implications for open contact. I'll be touching a little bit on quantum physics, and we will definitely be talking about how you can align yourself with higher frequencies to prepare for open contact and the potential integration with these advanced civilizations. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome to the Charmed Life podcast. This podcast is all about magic, metaphysics, mysticism, and the unconditional love of the universe. And I am your host. My name is Tricia Carr. Welcome, welcome, welcome to this episode. I'm really excited to connect with you today. A reminder that this is actually live now, so if you want to join the live conversation, be sure to check in the description so that you can, be sure to click in my YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff. You know the drill. Smash that bell and all that kind of stuff and subscribe. But also, if you join my mailing list, that is one of the best ways you can stay in touch of when I'm going to be doing, podcasts live and all of the other amazing things. And so if you are here live, I would love to hear from you. And I see that we have Easy Rock here. Hello. Nice to see you. And Lauren is here. Oh, thank you so much. Hi, Tracy. Thank you for being here. And if you're listening on the replay, whether it's on the YouTube channel or on the podcast, welcome. I'm excited to connect with you today. So, yeah, ETs are here. And, I kind of go in and out of excitement about what this could mean. And I've also, in that in and out of excitement about it, I think I'm also kind of dealing with my own, whether it is excitement or, almost like the hope that they will somehow rescue us from ourselves. From that to maybe even processing what is my fear about what that means. And then I think it's cool to just land in the middle and go about your life. And that's what we're going to talk about in this episode, is where do we land in that? And does it matter even if we even have an awareness that extraterrestrials, I like to call them extradimensionals, are actually here? Well, before we head into that, let's talk about, the reason why I can just say so confidently they're here. One thing is that it's actually what do they call it? Like the worst kept secret. It's an open secret. The evidence of it has become so prevalent that it is in our ubiquitous awareness. And while it is, or it has been, a conspiracy by our government and other governments, not a conspiracy theory, big difference between a conspiracy and a conspiracy theory. And this is one way we can see the distinction between the two. Side lesson we have going on here. It's a conspiracy to keep it secret. But because conspiracies have to have a certain amount of human, capacity in order for the conspiracy to stay a secret, then it breaks open. And so, since I already broached that topic, let's talk about the difference between a conspiracy and a conspiracy theory. Well, a conspiracy is something that is like people have come together, they've made a plan to actually, have some plan occur. So let's say there is a conspiracy within the CIA. Actually, I think it's supposed to be called CIA. I think you're not supposed to use the or in front of CIA. There's a conspiracy in CIA, one department, a few people, and they have a plan to overturn some operation within CIA. So what it can have in common in order for that to be a successful conspiracy is what we call time, scope, and number. Meaning in this contained conspiracy within CIA, the timing is there is a time frame of accomplishing this that makes sense for just how well people can get things done while keeping it a secret. So there is a time frame that is quantifiable. And it's reasonable, let's say that. Scope. How big is it? So we're talking about, in our metaphor, within the CIA, there is a small committee or small crew that wants to overturn one operation. Well, that's a pretty reasonable scope for humans to be able to accomplish. And then the number, how many people are involved. And again, in our example, it's the CIA, and it's a certain amount of people within it. Not too many people know about it or are involved. So that means it's more possible for the secret to be kept, right? Because people be chatting and talking and leaking, right? So the conspiracy that our government, and I think other governments, whether there is an agreement between countries to also keep it secret, I don't think so. I think it's really country to country that's going on there. It's really a national conspiracy to keep what the government knows about extraterrestrials, UAPs. Those are anomalous. UAPs? Yeah, unidentified anomalous phenomena, also called UFOs. And non-human intelligence, NHI, present on our planet. And the fact that this has been a conspiracy to not let that out into the public is actually the reason why it is no longer able to be kept secret. Actually makes sense for those three metrics we talked about for a conspiracy: time, scope, and measure. Or excuse me, time, scope, and number. The timing of it is, let's keep this secret from the public forever. Or like there's no determined time, so it's unreasonable. The scope of it. The scope is become unreasonable too, because ETs coming here and people having experiences, having contact experiences, that's not something they can control. That scope is too large. They weren't able to hide Roswell. They weren't able to hide the Phoenix Lights. And so the scope is way too grand to keep it secret and even control it, in any way. And then the number. How many people are involved in whether this is disclosed or not? Well, how many people within the government? Well, the thing is that there are even high-ranking people in the government who are not in on the disclosure, project of it, or like to actually keep it a secret. And these are deep, deep organizations, secret organizations within the government that are not disclosing it to the proper channels that they're meant to. Anyway, what I'm going over here, what I'm reviewing here is the reason this conspiracy to keep the presence of extraterrestrials and advanced civilizations present on our planet from us is because these three metrics are unreasonable for humans. And that's what by the way, just again as a side note, conspiracy theories, they can't meet those metrics reasonably. The timing of it, it's a conspiracy for, some advanced civilization to enslave us in all perpetuity, past, present, future, forever. And the scope of it is too large in relation to humans. And the number of beings involved is too large. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about here. So you see, this is how the conspiracy to keep the extraterrestrial presence on our planet, a secret, has broken open. Now, the other thing is that we actually have whistleblowers who are calling for disclosure of these deep secret projects deep within the U.S. government. Disclosure of this information to not only the proper channels within the government, but because the scope is so expanded to actually the public, to the public at large. There is the most recent one of these actual calls for disclosure was in November of 2024. And there were whistleblowers who came before the U.S. Congress. And I think this is at least the second time, maybe more than the second time. I'm aware of two times that I actually was, I reviewed it and watched it. And Luis Elizondo is one of these whistleblowers. He has several books, I believe, but a most recent book is called Imminent. So you can look at Lou Elizondo, he sometimes go by, but Luis Elizondo is one of these whistleblowers with all of the absolute proper, credentials to have this information. So this these U.S. congressional hearings addressing UFO transparency so that the public can have awareness of what is just widespread and known. So that is an indication that it is imminent because they are here. It's not just what mystics and Native Americans and indigenous people have been experiencing through their spiritual practices, being able to have a vibration that was high enough to match the frequency to receive that contact. It's happening in a more widespread and obvious way. And it's not only happening in the U.S. or to the U.S. They're all over the planet. It's just, of course, I live in the United States and I speak English. So these are the things that I tap into because of my language barrier, if nothing else. At any rate, this begs the question of whether or not ETs are benevolent or malevolent. So if you're catching this live or you're watching this replay of the full podcast, just another note that every now and again I'm going to play a little slate, a little transition. It's going to give us a moment to reset as we move on to a next segment. And here we go. So ETs are here on the planet. Are they here to help us or to harm us? Are the ETs, or as I like to call them, extradimensionals who are here, are they benevolent or malevolent? And of course, the most pragmatic, practical, objective thing to say is TBD, because we don't have open contact yet. On the other hand, we could infer that they may, at least so far, haven't been here to do harm. Not massively, at least. Because if they are advanced enough to be able to come here, because we're not advanced enough in our technology to go to some other civilization, since they are that advanced and they haven't done anything, well, then we might infer that, okay, it's not malevolent, which is not the same as saying it is benevolent. On the other hand, if you are a spiritual seeker, which is why you're here on this channel, then you have this deep sense and that there is benevolence here. You may be familiar with the idea that because of how we got here through potentially the Anunnaki, but I think that's about 20,000 years ago, actually creating a hybrid race of themselves, some other, and perhaps angels, and another native hominid on this planet. And that's how we came to be as a human race. And that in doing that, they sort of violated their own policy to be able to, give us that kind of, empowerment. And so they had to depart in order to let us see how this experiment was going to play out. And perhaps it is actually these beings, or there are Pleiadians, which the Anunnaki is said to have been derived from, the Pleiades, that they're actually coming back because this experiment has gotten to a certain point where maybe we do need an assist, and they are here to help us and take some responsibility. We are in extreme dire need of how to get out of our climate crisis. Those are facts. And there are other things that, of course, we're feeling a great discomfort about in our society and in politics and between countries and nations. So perhaps, and if you're like me, they are hearing our spiritual call and they're actually here to help us out. Now, if we go down that road, there is still something for us to align with in order to be able to receive that help. Before I launch into that, I actually want to talk about the fact, another piece of information that helps us to put all of this into alignment. And that is that we are, as a society, we've made advancements in technology, but this technology is bridging into spiritual or consciousness technology. And quantum physics is bringing us there. Quantum physics is really helping us to harness and make reliable, at least we're getting close to it, that which mystics have known for centuries. And when something is in full awareness, when it's somewhat utilizable by a reasonable set, it's kind of like the opposite of a conspiracy. When we have brought this awareness into society, then we start a cycle of it being able to be utilized. And I'll give you an example of that. We had a major shift in the human race when we had the technology to discover Uranus. Uranus was always there, but when we could see Uranus with lens technology, then we could receive its energies. And we shifted. And you can even see along the timeline here, it didn't happen immediately like overnight, but there was this slow turning of our human race to be on a Saturnian life cycle, lifespan of about 30 years, to now a Uranian one of about 60 plus years. Now, Uranus's, orbit is such that it is, but of course it wasn't 30 years and you died, nor is it 60 years and we die. We're extending our lifespan more and more, and you can see it in correlation to us being able to receive the spiritual or, consciousness energies of Uranus. And that's where we are now. And something I'm talking about right now, we actually went over in my Akashic Record Reader program. One of the things that, there are many things that quantum physics shows us that allows us to see that, hey, this is readily available to us. Of course, there's quantum entanglement. There is, I'm forgetting the name of that project, so I'll skip that one. But the main thing I want to talk about is superposition. And superposition is a fundamental concept in quantum computing that describes how quantum systems can exist in multiple states simultaneously. Multiple states simultaneously. I'm saying that again because I want you to imagine that you can exist in multiple states simultaneously. In quantum computing, superposition is exploited to increase the computing power by allowing quantum bits or qubits to exist in a superposition state of both 0 and 1 simultaneously. It is your capacity, if we bring that to us, how we can use this, to exist in more than one state at a time. And this is now something that is readily available on our planet because Google has announced its state-of-the-art quantum chip. It's called Willow. And Willow performs at a benchmark, a standard benchmark of computation in under 5 minutes, what would otherwise take the fastest supercomputers 10 septillion years. In 5 minutes, 10 septillion years. That's that number is ridiculous, and that number vastly exceeds the age of our known universe. So since it exceeds the age of our known universe, that means that it is drawing upon the multiverse. It is drawing upon parallel universes, parallel dimensions, parallel states. So we know Google, right? That's how we're all here right now. I'm literally on YouTube, which is Google. That means that it is available to us to harness as energies. So that means that we can exist in a much more expanded state than our physical limitations. Do you see? I don't know if you can see this, but let me just say, this is the technology, so to speak, that it seems that the extra-dimensionals, the ETs who are present with us are using. If they are biological entities, which the ones we're talking about are, then they are somehow able to do that thing that we saw in Star Trek, to beam up, to dematerialize and rematerialize, or to leverage consciousness energy, the capacity to be in a superposition, to exist in more than one state at once, to simply understand and exist in another physical reality or in another reality, and thereby allowing them to do things that would otherwise be impossible by just the standards of biology. That is available to us now. And that is, again, what mystics have been practicing for years, probably what you have been practicing, to be able to be in more than one state at one time, to validate more than one state at one time. So more than one state might be physical and non-physical, or parallel versions of physicality or parallel versions of non-physicality, and blurring the lines, the liminal state, between what is considered physical and non-physical. Because light is actually the smallest quantizable bit of particles. Light is actually physical. But yet there is a part of the light spectrum that we can't see because of our physical instruments filtering them out, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, and it doesn't mean that we can't harness it. So this is some of the, I don't know how much y'all are vibing on this or not, just let it wash over you if you're not certain. But this leads us directly to how we can tolerate, if you will, open contact with ETs. And that is where we are on this planet at this time. So let's talk about what we can do to be able to have this, to have open contact with extra dimensionals, to have open contact with ETs. Now, as I said, I vacillate in my excitement about ETs being here, to also processing my fear, to also just going about my life and not considering it. And we are in the state of this inevitability of having open contact and having some kind of integration with advanced civilizations. We're in this foregone conclusion of it. So that means that it is logical or reasonable that there are people on the planet that, as this happened, they never considered it. They haven't been tapped into the fact that there are a lot of events that people are experiencing, either on a smaller or larger scale of contact and sightings and whatnot. There are people who are just, that's not a part of their awareness, it's just not something they've tapped into. So whether or not you are aware of it, it's not waiting for us to agree with it or be aware of it. So it leaves no one out. Whereas I have to say that at least the religion that I came up to, religion left people out. It's like, if you don't worship God with these words and by this book and by these actions and at this place, then you are left out of this salvation. And when I was a little kid, I was like, but wait a minute, I know that there are other places on this planet where they don't have this book and this place and these words, and they actually have a whole different paradigm. So you're telling me that an omniscient, omnipotent, benevolent God is leaving them out because they didn't catch the news, They don't have Instagram or whatever. I'm being silly there a little bit, but it's kind of like that. Like, they're not on this platform, and so they're going to be left out of salvation and the benevolent love of a benevolent God. So this is, again, bringing us into a logical, a clear space that you don't have to be aware of something as phenomenal or existential as having open and integrated contact with extraterrestrials. And you don't have to be aware of it in order for it to be occurring. And yet, you can, whether you're aware of it or not, be doing something to prepare yourself. And what is beautiful about this something you can do to prepare for it, is actually just your evolution anyway. It's just becoming more wise, mature, compassionate, and evolved in your being. But let's take it back to us, we who are paying attention to this podcast episode, who are aware, at least by listening to me this time, of the fact that we might have open contact as an imminent occurrence. What can we do to prepare? Simply oversimplified, simply stated, raising our vibration. And so raising our vibration is something that we say in spiritual speak all the time. And what does that mean? And raising your vibration is about purifying your frequency so that it is closer to who you truly are authentically. One thing that we need to do is stop paying attention to things that don't matter. That's going to help us to clear to divest, as I said even in the last episode, divest our energy, stop paying attention, paying our energy into things that don't matter. And what I mean by don't matter is they might be gossip, or they may be actually they're contraindicated for our development. That can look like a lot of things. That can look like gossip in media, gossip in your life, things that are saying that they're meant to help you, like they're selling you things, but what they're doing is actually just crowding your vibration. But it could also be things that are very personal, and that could be certain relationships that are abusive to you. It could be the fact that it's time for you to move into something that's more aligned for you to do for a living, for a career. Or if you are someone who is really has this spiritual calling that you sense, then it might be time for you to really move passionately into what you might feel as a calling or a life mission. That might be to be of service. Whatever that might mean. It may mean to shift your life in significant ways. It may mean a million little subtle things, like stop watching the news, because the news is actually poisoning your vibration. Now, that doesn't mean that we're completely irresponsible. Be very present and aware and mindful of how you might pick the information, both from the source of it and then how much time that you spend in it, because a certain amount of time of spending in that kind of content is just stuff that doesn't matter. It could also be like not spending as much time on social media, of course. You know that disease people have of their finger of scrolling? That really is like anxiety. That is like it's like when it is filling up your time and also but especially your awareness in ways that are not actually going to help you. And you see, of course, I'm up here on a platform. I'm intending to help you. And if it's not, then obviously, bye, because I only want to help. But I mean, if it's not helping you, then it might be time to log out, clock out of that. Now, I'm not saying it only has to be spiritual stuff. Entertainment can raise your vibration. But then there's a certain point where seeking entertainment is us actually avoiding maybe something that is our inner work that we need to process. This is all about your discernment. So stop paying attention to things that don't matter. If you are someone who is aware of human design, then I'll just tell you that 70% of the population has an undefined head center, that top energy center or chakra. And that undefined head center is vulnerable to paying attention to things that don't matter. That's 70% of the population, meaning you have no filter between all of the things that are floating around in the ether and your own head. Now, even if you have a defined head, you still have an input there, and then it's like you can absorb some things that don't matter, and then it's kind of rattling around in there, and it's almost like it has a harder time to leave because it can't be processed. Much like if you ingest something that you don't have enzymes to break down, it's going to be a lot harder to release that from your digestive system. Same thing for how your thoughts and all of that kind of input can come in. So stop paying attention to things that don't matter. If it isn't directly leading to helping you, and another thing is if it is potentially harming someone else or low-key wishing harm on someone else, then it isn't directly adding to your evolution. So I'll just say it again. There are a lot of things that are going on in people's political activism, which, by the way, activism can be a really beautiful part of being of service. Absolutely. So this is not a blanket denigration to being an activist. However, when we have so much polarization going on now, that we have become really prey to good old-fashioned, plain junior high school gossip. You may have a strong discordance with a certain political figure or party, and I get it. But you are not doing yourself or anyone else any benefit by engaging in gossip. So we need to be clear, and we need to be practical, and we need to be, if we're going to engage with someone that we genuinely feel that they need to become enlightened, that they are lost about something, well, then the way that you reach them would not be to just show facts, which you're calling facts, but that's actually gossip, or to criticize and blame them, right? That's not how you reach someone's heart, to criticize and blame them. And it's one thing like when I'm in my home with my husband and I'm sitting there and I read something and I hear something and I'm like, that's bullshit. It's one thing just to say that to my husband. I'm venting it a little bit. But then to go to someone and say that to their face, what you currently believe is BS, that's not going to change their heart. No, it's compassion. So I'll just say it again, gossip. All of this is helping us to come into an alignment with a quantum mind mastery. Because if we're talking about extraterrestrials as they are able to come here, and if we are moving toward the capacity to also be in a superposition, to be in more than one place at a time, that means that we have to have mastery and engagement in quantum mind resonance. We need to, this is why we stop paying attention to things that don't matter. Because if that is in our mental body, then we're not going to be able to consciously navigate the mental plane, which, by the way, this universe is mental. I know sometimes we're thinking it's just, like analysis kind of mental, but when you are in an altered state, or when you are working in the astral, which I'm going to talk about, you are moving by how your mind is functioning. And it is the whole mind. It is your subconscious mind, it is your conscious mind, and it is your superconscious. And that is what that whole body of mind is, connecting into quantum mind resonance. Resonance is how this, another way to say that the universe is mental, resonance is how this universe works. Resonance is two frequencies coming together to be a third frequency, and that bond of them actually being able to bond and become one is creation. It is now these two frequencies have become a third frequency, and that is added to the universe in an expansion. So allowing the mind to be purified, conscious mind, subconscious mind, connecting with superconscious, is the way that we are moving into a quantum mind resonance. That's your quantum mind that is resonating with the one mind of the universe. The closed system that is beneficial to one and all, because the all is the one and the one is the all. So I'll give you a little tip about something that you can practice. It's something that I actually teach in my main intuitive, my ultimate intuitive expansion program, which I don't have registration. Well, you could register right now, but I haven't like really thrown the gates open. But if you want to, you could find it on my website. Let's just say that. But at any rate, I'm about to open the registration for that again. And anyway, there is something called phasing. And what phasing is when you're in an altered state, that you actually create the phase of having another state, or being like, for example, this is akin to doing a target practice for astral projection, a self-initiated astral projection. A target practice is to, in your altered state, in a trance state, to then project your consciousness and exist somewhere, somehow else, not just where as much as how, because we're talking about state. So phasing into another state, and I'll give you an example of it. Actually, Tracy, who is here, shared with us how he went out of body and visited the dark side of the moon. Where did he share this? He shared it in our program that I just was teasing. And so how did he do that? He basically set his phaser for dark side of the moon, set his dial, his resonance tuning to the dark side of the moon. And he was able to actually leave his physical body and exist in the phase or the state of visiting the dark side of the moon. One of the things that I have been phasing to attune myself to the potential coexistence with advanced civilizations is when I am in a deep trance state, and I tend to do it while I'm here in my studio. This is my podcast studio. And I will do it from this studio. I go into a deep state, and then I phase into walking out onto the street right outside my studio here, and that there are benevolent, beautiful Pleiadians coming and interacting with me. I practiced that phasing for a while, and then I don't know how long I was practicing, maybe a month. And then I had an astral projection experience. I went out of body, and I did have I had a contact with a Pleiadian, and it was quite amazing. So practicing phasing, it is more than just meditating. It is more than just imagining, although it does use those. It goes deeper than that, but it is a practice that is a deeper practice. It's in a manner of speaking, an advanced practice, although some people do it spontaneously. So imagine, though, that being able to entirely create the full state so that you have a superposition of being physical and who you are and where you are and when you are, and also being able to be fully in a different phase or state. It is a deep meditative practice. This does require us to be able to at least clock out of the preponderance of things that would block us from that potentiality. It doesn't mean that we're perfect or pristine in that mental body, but it is something that you could begin to practice even by me just explaining it to you today. And what this is also doing is bringing you to work in the astral. And so the astral, as I'm referring to it here, is a certain substrate of spiritual energy. It is a substrate that is very proximate to physical reality. It's like this liminal space. So as something comes from the soul to be embodied and to shift us, it moves through the astral, is attuned there, and then becomes one with us. And it can also be used the other way as we move out from the physical reality, not really out. It's really expanding ourselves so that we are occupying the superposition of expanded awareness and expanded connection with the soul. Then we're able to map it in, down and into and through that astral substrate. Working in that astral experience is how things, that astral, not experience, that astral substrate or that astral plane and texture, I guess is another thing to think of it as, is actually how we can have spontaneous miracles to occur, opening portals, attuning fractals in such a way that it does shift the entirety of the code that is within your cells. Now, this is all in alignment with what is relevant and in the highest benefit for you from that full omnidimensional space of your soul. And but it does start with the sense of what is imprinted on your heart. So, raising your vibration. All of these different, like more advanced things, raising your vibration really comes down to being more of your true self. So working in the astral is something that we would do as we are raising our vibration. So let's talk about raising your vibration just a little bit here, and that is being more of who you truly are. Another part of this, of raising your vibration, of, not paying attention to things that don't matter, divesting your energy of things that would really, if we're honest with ourselves, are gossip, blame, or shame. Perhaps it is getting out of relationships or other kinds of life situations, whether it is dramatically, if it's really causing you harm, then moving instantly, or if it is gradually, like shifting careers and shifting, or shifting where you live, all of these kinds of things. You are strong enough to do this. You can do this, and you can do it. You have the energy to do it even more as you are more and more your true and authentic self. And that is a part of raising your vibration. That's what raising your vibration is. It's just being more of who you really are. And so a part of this is doing your inner work, and this is a quiet practice. While we talk about things like doing astral work and phasing to the dark side of the moon and meeting Pleiadians, which seems very, extraordinary, the beautiful, quiet, ordinary is very important of this. It's not so ordinary if we are having a life that is clouded by our conditioning. Doing your inner work, and this is meditation and prayer and journaling and perhaps getting things like getting therapy or having a coaching, a spiritual coaching, any of the things, please do consider. I have to remind myself and my clients and, my friends, if you have insurance, see if you can get some therapy sessions, find the right therapist for yourself. But those kinds of things we really could use. And that's a big important part of it. But again, just these couple that I'm talking about, meditation and journaling, so powerful. Journaling anything, using sentence stems to be able to find out what is going on within you. And this is a sense of being your own therapist, being your own coach. Find out what is going on within you and reflect on it, contemplate it. And then, of course, your spiritual study. If you're like, I don't know what to study next, get the Gene Keys. That book is like, oh my gosh, Richard Rudd, so ahead of his time. And that is a great tool for what we're talking about here, because the Gene Keys is actually speaking to what is our, not just our spiritual potential, but our genetic potential as well, like how we are coded. And that is all helping us to decondition. Looking into, in our inner work, we are inquiring of ourselves. We are being able to be more and more honest with ourselves, more and more discerning, so that we can stop paying attention to things that don't matter. And we can decondition and find that courage to let our heart guide us. You are here precisely, pristinely designed as who you are, and you are the one that we need. And there's this letting go and the deconditioning, letting go of these things. All of this will help us to be more compatible with the evolution of everything that we have going on this planet, so that we can come together, so that we can find a way to come together in compassion and understanding, so that we can move into a healthier way that we relate to one another, the way that we relate to the earth, and perhaps so that we can be able to receive the open contact with advanced civilizations who are, again, probably here to help us. It is what superposition points to also. Superposition meaning we can exist in more than one state at a time. It really points to the paradox. It points to the fact that as we are able to tolerate anything, but from the presence of our higher mind, that is the place that we have growth and evolution. That is what we're working toward in just our individual and our collective evolution. So your individual maturity, evolution, and vibration path, raising your vibration, is the same as everyone else because we are one. That's how we move into a better world for you and for us all. All right, I want to see what's going on here in the comments now. In a sense, Lauren says, in a sense, we are all music. Yes, we are all music. Oh, I love that. Well, think about it, Lauren. Universe. That's the one song, right? We are all music. We're all playing the chord or the note or the melody or the harmonic that we are here to play. And the universe needs your contribution. Thank you for reminding us of that. That's so beautiful. Hi, Alana. Nice to see you. Oh, and Tony has something to say. I believe there are both. Some are here to help and some are here to harm. I've had an experience with malevolent beings. Yeah, of course, Tony. I'm sure there are. There's malevolent beings, obviously, because look, there's malevolent beings that are in the human race. So yeah, of course, it would be very Pollyanna of me to say that there are no malevolent beings. It just seems like the indication is that since we haven't had mass malevolence occur, that again, maybe it's all hope. Who knows? I have processed some of probably not nearly all of my fear or concern about whether advanced civilizations who are here, whether they are benevolent or malevolent. And you know what? That's just again. The best option that we have is to be able to meet an advanced civilization with as advanced as we can. That's what I imagine to come down to it, right? Hi, Angela. So nice to see you. Oh, wonderful. Your soulful connections. Hello. I'm more fearful of humans than aliens. Amen. Me too. That's what I say to people when I tell them like I'm a medium or something like that. Like, aren't you afraid of ghosts? And I'm like, no, I am way more afraid of people who have bodies than people who don't have bodies. So I agree with you, right? How bad could it get? Except that, of course, they're more advanced than us because they're here. So, that's the state of things. So, well, I think that's about it now. I will share with you a few things, and that is a few things which are, first of all, check the description because there are free gifts there for you. If you scroll down to the bottom of it, the description is where you'll find the higher self meditation, and that's like a crystal pyramid higher self meditation that you can download and keep. I think you download it, or maybe you can have a play link to it, that you can hang on to and visit anytime. That will sign you up for my mailing list, and I'm about to make some really cool announcements, I must say, if I do say so myself. There's also a free gift of a mini course of animal communication, or it's actually animal and nature intuitive, to be able to connect with your own animals. And then I do have the invitations for the programs, a few of the programs that I have going on. I have intuitive development, I have animal communication, multidimensional mediumship, I have empowered empath, I have easy intuition and meditation. All of these programs are on demand streaming available right now. And then if you wanted to make those live so that you can further your development in community and engage with me as the teacher to be able to ask questions and practice your abilities, then you would just join Sacred Sphere, which is my development circle, and it happens twice a month. Oh, and then I also have Modern Mystic, which is only $11 a month, and you get a really great workshop and live group meditation every month. All right, that's what I have for you in this episode. I had the best time with you. I hope you find the comfort in just that you are already doing your work, and just continue to do that. Adopt your growth mindset. You have another spiritual awakening ahead of you, because they are endless to us. The journey is endless, and exactly who you are is who we need. So thank you for shining your light on our beautiful world. And thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.